Here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Before You Bet, airing live right here on the Coverage YouTube and X channels. Going to try to not be too rusty here today because I have not been at the helm of the show for about a week now. I was away in Las Vegas covering UFC 303 and a handful of other things here for covers. And I got to tell you, anytime you go to Las Vegas, it is a good time. I had an absolute blast there. 4 nights covering the UFC event. Always great to attend one of those big-time UFC events in person. I do got to tell you guys, the way home absolutely sucked, though. It's always a haul. I am, if you know Halifax, Nova Scotia, that's basically where I am here on the East Coast. So you can't be much further from Nova Scotia to Nevada. So it's an absolute haul to get there, first of all. And of course, it's an absolute haul to get home. So I had the flight plan all worked out, flying from Nevada to Newark and then Newark to Nova Scotia here. And my flight from Newark to Nova Scotia gets canceled. There's some type of storm going on Sunday evening in New Jersey. Hey, shit happens. No big deal, right? The employees for United Airlines couldn't have been any ruder. They were awful to deal with. So to make a long story even longer, I ended up being on standby for a flight the next day, got on it, back home, celebrated Canada Day with my family. Haven't done any handicapping or picks for 3 days, so I am thirsty for some action, and there's a lot to get into tonight for Major League Baseball. But before we get into all that, a lot of movement here in the NBA. So who did we discuss NBA with? Johnny Metler, the Magic Ass Man. Metler, how you making out?
Well, I think it's safe to say we're not going to be getting any sponsorships from United Airlines anytime soon.
No, and I wouldn't want one from those bastards. My God, man. You try to speak to, this is the first time this has ever happened to me, right? Like, I don't travel a ton, but a fair amount. Like I said, you had delays, cancellations, shit happens. But don't be rude to people, for God's sake. Traveling can be stressful. You're on these planes for hours on end. And we want no part of United. Other airlines potentially reach out and we'll see if we can work something out. But John, a lot has happened since you and I were last together on the show. Bronny James is a Los Angeles Laker. Big shock there. You guys know how I feel about that. A lot of people crying nepotism and whatnot. I really don't care. I think it's a cool story. I think it's fun. I'll be rooting for Bronny James. And I said this before, like a couple months back. If your dad was in a position in your chosen field, I'm sure you would try to leverage that a little bit here too. So he's got all the pressure in the world on him. We'll see how that works out. I do kind of think that's more about LeBron's legacy than Bronny's, you know what I mean? So a little, that's kind of how LeBron plays things. So we have some big time player movement though. Paul George leaving his hometown of Los Angeles. He is signing up with the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think that's a big needle mover. We're going to discuss the odds implications of all of these here shortly. How is that any different from the 76ers when James Harden was on the team and they had that big three there? They'll be good in the regular season. They might win a round in the playoffs. Klay Thompson to the Mavericks. I was pretty surprised by that because it's not like they overpaid him at all. I understand that his play is declining. He was better in the second half, but had Dallas had a sniper like him against the Celtics, maybe they would have won an extra game, maybe an extra 2 games. Who knows? The most surprising thing of the week here for me, John, is Donovan Mitchell returning to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I guess I was influenced by everyone in the media saying that he wants no part of returning to Cleveland. You know, my big prediction, I predicted that Donovan Mitchell would end up on your Orlando Magic. But I think they ended up in, a 3-year extension. I think he had 1 year left on his deal, so he's getting paid a shit ton of money. So any thoughts on those and any under-the-radar moves that you think could make a big impact?
The Paul George one, it actually, the report was, it was between Clippers, 76ers, Magic. Him going to the 76ers, you said it's not much of a needle mover for you. I mean, the odds, I'm pretty sure they went from about plus 1,600, plus 1,400 down to plus 800. I think they're second on the board right now.
The dumbest thing DraftKings, this Philadelphia 76ers have the second best odds to win an NBA championship. Have you seen Joel Embiid the past couple seasons? He breaks down at the end of every year. He cannot be trusted. This team's never advanced to an Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's a severely dumb bet if you're going to make that. That is my opinion on that. Maxi's pretty good. Paul George, take him or leave him in the playoffs sometimes. He's a really good player. But yeah, that's crazy. What about the other moves? Clay to the Mavs. You like that one?
Yeah, the Clay to the Mavs, I don't like. When you look at the NBA Finals, they need 3-point shooting. They're losing in the 3-point battle, so like they address that. But the problem is you bring in Klay Thompson, but you also let Derrick Jones Jr. walk out the door because of that contract. So immediately when they signed Klay Thompson, I was talking about their perimeter defense. I don't think Klay Thompson was like the 3-point shooter that the Mavericks need. They need someone who could combine like defense and be like a primary defender and bring shooting. And that's not Klay Thompson at this point in his career. So honestly, I don't really like that move for the Mavericks. I think I'm not even sure if it makes them that much better. Obviously, from like a namesake, it makes them a lot stronger. But I think they would have been better off with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who went to the Magic. I think that's kind of the player they needed because with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, you saw in the NBA Finals, they're willing defenders in big games. They're not the best of defenders. So like now you kind of have three guys. Like Klay Thompson was a good defender years and years ago, but now he's going to be strictly like a 3-point shooter. So now you have three guys on the perimeter. PJ Washington's probably your best defender. You have great rim protection, Lively and Gafford. I just don't know. They got the 3-point shooting. They needed the 3-point shooting. I just don't know if it was the combination of the right player that they need there. It doesn't make me like it makes me like the Mavericks less, if we're being honest.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It's kind of funny with Klay because maybe there's more to the story, but it seemed like he was all up in his feelings. We talked about how he unfollowed the Warriors on social media and untagged them from dude. You're like 35 years old. That's a move that a 23-year-old can make, and we'll let them get away with that. But yeah, I did not like that from Klay. I thought that maybe he would have given the Warriors a bit of a hometown discount to stick around, considering he was on the shelf for 2 years and was getting paid just an obscene amount of money by them. In the end, that was his contract, so he was entitled to that. But yeah, who knows what was fully going on behind the scenes. I guess he felt a little disrespected.
Yeah, they were talking about him because the Lakers offered him more money and he went to the Mavericks, and he just said he felt like going to the Lakers was almost like staying with the Warriors. It wasn't different enough for him. So obviously he was clearly long gone. Warriors, he wasn't going back at all. Mick, if you want to pull up the NBA Finals odds, we can kind of like look through here with some of the other things. I think the big one that pops to me, you see this, we talked about the 76ers up to plus 800. There's no chance I'm getting anywhere near that just from, like you said, Embiid health standpoint. The one that pops is like when we were in Halifax, the OKC Thunder, they were plus 850, plus 900. They haven't moved. And like, we knew that price was kind of shorter with the idea that they would make moves. I don't think you could have drawn up any better the moves they made. Like if you were betting this plus 850 weeks ago with the idea that they would make moves, they made all the moves I would want them to make in order for me to jump on this price. Like switching out Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey is like just the idea of adding even more defense and better shooting. That's like the exact position I would want to replace Giddey. And then you also look at the Thunder when they're in the Western Conference, you're kind of concerned, Chet Holmgren, he can protect the rim. He's just a little like on the skinny side from like, if you go against a Jokic, you're like, it would be nice if they had another big. What did they do? They go sign Isaiah Hartenstein. Not only did they get another big, this guy is one of the most like impactful players who doesn't score in the entire NBA. Like this roster, and then they go and sign their own guys, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, who are both shooters. To me, they are building such a good roster of like 3-point shooting, perimeter defense, and now interior defense. I mean, they're they're obviously the favorites here. I'm surprised that hasn't moved at all, because that to me, they've made the exact moves you'd want. The other team, I just don't know if it's going to work, and they will stick it out. The Phoenix Suns, they're now plus 3,500. They kind of address the bench issues. I think this is where you kind of get into that having 1 year of continuity, which I'd be concerned about for the 76ers. The 76ers price is very similar to what you saw from the Suns last year. The Suns were both plus 700 going into the regular season. The Suns needed a backup point guard. They went and got Monte Morris. Drew Eubanks was one of the worst backup centers I've ever seen behind Nurkic. They added Mason Plumlee. Like, these aren't like big names and stuff, but I mean, I think they do know the pieces they needed to replace, and they went out and did that. And they also, in the draft, they got two guys who are very like they're not like guys who are scorers. They're like more defenders, role players. And I think that was very purposeful. So they are like trying to build this roster around what they saw from Durant, Beal, and Booker. I kind of like the moves they make. I just don't know. There's always like the Durant thing. Is he staying? Is this team staying together? I'm not entirely sure, but like you're looking at plus 3,500 this year compared to what plus 700 last year, and you know so much more about this roster. The one team, last team here, because we've kind of talked about them, the Milwaukee Bucks have really just done nothing.
Yeah, I was going to bring them up.
Yeah, if you have any thoughts on them, it's just
surprising
to have such a. Go ahead.
You had mentioned continuity with the Phoenix Suns, and the Bucks are a team last season. They just couldn't get their timing down right of anything. Like we've said it a million times, they made way too many moves. You have Doc Rivers coming in, and I think you had brought up they were like a month or 6 weeks into it, and they only had like a handful of practices together. Yeah. For example, we know what happened in the playoffs, right? Damian Lillard, how many games did he miss? He missed a handful of games. Giannis missed them all. I think if you have Bucks versus Celtics in a game or a series, Giannis is going to be the best player on the court. Now, they don't have the depth of the Celtics. I don't exactly love that number, 11-1. But yeah, they kind of did the opposite of what they did over the past year. They made way too many moves coming into the season and throughout. And now they've done nothing. Now, do they have the depth? Not really. I don't know what their draft pick situation is, if they're looking to add guys here, before the trade deadline. I think next year's draft is decent or a lot better than the really one we just had here. So you might have a lot of teams looking to go into tank mode. And the other team that stands out to me, I think it's a pretty big disappointment that the Lakers weren't able to get anything done. They had quite a few guys on their radar. Of course, Clay, DeJounte Murray, apparently they were going to look to maybe deal him. So how many, that team just beats their head up against the wall trying to build a team around LeBron and Anthony Davis. Last year is probably the best year to do it because Anthony Davis was as healthy as he's been in a very long time. So, yeah, no interest in the Lakers. Where are the Pelicans at? 50-1 after adding Murray? The Pelicans were looking pretty damn good going into the playoffs last year. Zion, though, it's the exact same issue as Joel Embiid, right? Can't really stay healthy. And I've been saying this for a long time. These big guys who get injured when they're young, they don't tend to get healthier with age, do they? So, yeah, some interesting thoughts there. Anything else on the board stand out to you at all?
Yeah, Mick, can you bring us the division odds? I'm just curious where the Pacific division, where those odds are currently sitting. Because I feel like that one, if you go on to Pacific, it's moved quite a bit. So the Sacramento Kings maybe like a week ago were like plus 750. And that was kind of the one, De'Aaron Fox says he's not going to re-sign unless they make a big move. You already have, this is a team that was the 3 seed, not last year, but the year before.
Yeah.
You're just going through this division. Clippers lose Paul George, Golden State Warriors lose Klay Thompson. They kind of look like they're a little bit in shambles. The Lakers weren't able to make any moves. I think the Phoenix Suns did get better, but to me, I think when you look at all 5 teams in this division, the Sacramento Kings always kind of get the raw end of the pricing just because they're the least popular team in this kind of division here. So I was curious if this was going to hang at 750. If this was plus 750 and then they go trade for Brandon Ingram, which is something I bet on, and it's also a rumor, and they're also looking at other guys, this would be my first immediate move. Woj bomb tweet, Brandon Ingram to the Kings. I would run to place this division bet. I do think they're like, you have De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray. As long as Keegan Murray doesn't get traded in the trade, I think it'd be Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter. Those would be the guys going out. Yeah. I just feel like everyone else kind of seems to be on the regressing there in that division from a roster standpoint. And the Kings, I think they're going to take a big swing here. So they take a big swing. Keep an eye. It'd be worth going to shop around and see which sportsbook has the best price on the Kings right now. So when you do see that tweet, you can go quickly to place that bet.
Interesting stuff. Okay, so John is going to be all over the Olympic basketball here coming up for us. It looks like it's going to be a competitive tournament later on this summer, but we have some Olympic qualifying matchups going on right now, including Angola. Now, if you guys are looking to place some bets, maybe you're not a baseball bettor, maybe you are. John, tell us a little bit about this game. It's going down at 2:30 Eastern, I believe. Is it in Las Vegas?
No, it's in Spain. So these are qualifying tournaments.
Okay.
Yeah, the exhibition game Canada USA is in Vegas. These are qualifying tournaments. They're stationed kind of around the world here. So it's Spain versus Angola. You just know you're a basketball sicko when you're taking Angola plus 33 off the spread. This actually moved. So I mean, it's a good sign. It's too bad we didn't get it out like a half hour earlier. It's down to 31. A couple of things here. So one, when you have if in the NBA, if you have a total of 220 and it's a 33-point spread, that looks way different than this game, which is the total is 156.5. So that's like a 33-point set spread and a total 156.5 is a massive number. And a couple of reasons why. Spain is obviously a really, really, really strong team, but how this tournament works, you have to win 4 games. You have to play 4 games in 6 days. That's a lot of games. Spain has already won their first game and they beat Lebanon by 45 points. So from like a point differential winning their group, they're going to advance. The top 2 of 3 teams advance. So like Spain's going to advance. They're going to win the group. They're going to beat Angola. So from that standpoint, I just don't see them, I think they'll take their foot off the gas a little bit in this game. Like why are you going to push your starters for heavy minutes when you know you're this big of a favorite? You're already 1-0. You're going to win the group. I mean, it's an easy group for them. And then you also have 2 more games, coming up Friday and Sunday. And to me, like also from like just a scouting standpoint, I'm sure they're more locked in on the Bahamas, who when I came in here was beating Poland. So the Bahamas will probably win that group. That's probably who they're going to have to beat to get the Olympics. The Bahamas is a strong team. They have Buddy Hield, Eric Gordon, DeAndre Ayton, this VJ Edgecombe. He's going to Baylor. He's going to be a top 5 pick. They're a strong team. So I'm sure Spain's also kind of more scouting them. And also like if you're Spain, why are you going to put things on film? There's obviously not too much film of your team playing together. Why are you going to put things on film for, the Bahamas for a game moving forward? 33 is a big points. Lebanon too, like they got killed by Spain. They don't have any NBA players on the inside. Angola does have Bruno Fernando. He plays for the Atlanta Hawks, which is a big deal when it comes to these kind of tournaments. A lot of these smaller countries, you have a hard time rebounding. You have a hard time controlling the paint when you don't have a big, like an NBA player on the inside. They do have an NBA player on the inside. So that also kind of like makes me like this more. Like Lebanon was getting killed. I watched Lebanon, Spain. There's just dunks after dunks after dunks. So that also helps. Angola put up a good fight last year in the World Cup too. They beat the Philippines in the Philippines. They had some really good games. So 30, they can lose by 30. I'll be happy. I'm going, I think it's now 31. I'd still take the 31. So go Angola.
We got the Gasol brothers and Rubio playing for Spain this year or what?
No, none of them. They're all gone. Ricky Rubio was invited to play, but he declined.
End of an era. No Jose Calderon either.
Yeah.
Very, very sad stuff there for Spanish basketball fans. Okay, let's go Angola plus 33. I will tell you on that one. So we will leave it at that, John. We'll check in with you again on Friday, where I'm sure we'll have more to discuss in the world of basketball. There's still plenty of moves to be made. And, of course, the lead up to the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France. John, best of luck with that bet. We'll catch you on Friday.
All right. Good luck with your bets, everyone.
Yes, sir. Okay, closing in on about 1,000 live viewers, mainly on X, some on YouTube. If you guys want to participate in the show, hit up that live chat and let us know what you like today in Major League Baseball, or maybe something from this big Angola-Spain game. Let us know what you like there. A first quarter bet, perhaps, a player prop, maybe. Let us know. But now it is time to move to the sport that will take center stage for us throughout the summer, Major League Baseball. And to do that, to help us do some of the heavy lifting here, is our guy, Jingles, the man with the sexiest smile in all of sports betting. Now he has a mustache right on top of it. He is fresh off having the motherboard on his computer replaced or fixed. Jingles, how are we doing?
We're trying to fix some stuff. It's been Operation Nasty trying to get the computers fixed. Streaming still on my son's Chromebook. Things could go off the rails at any moment. Big MLB slate today. Good to have you back, Joe. Tell me, how cool was Slap?
Slap fighting. I'll tell you what slap fighting is. So I had a pass to go to it that came as part of like my UFC media credential. And it's pretty cool. It's nothing that I would invest a whole ton of time into like I do for other sports, for the simple reason that slap, it's instant gratification. And what I mean by that is if you're watching a UFC fight or a boxing fight, you're waiting for that big punch, the big knockout that's going to make you jump out of your seat. With slap fighting, boom, they're just boom, boom, boom. That's all it is. And you know you're going to get it. Most likely some of the matches people don't get knocked out. But what I will say is they put on a pretty good show. Each match is anywheres from, 2 minutes to 7 minutes long. The pacing's really good. There's not a whole lot of time in between the matches. So I can understand why people do like it. It's that instant gratification. It's obviously not for everyone. You're not going to sit your mom down in front of the TV or your young kids and be like, hey, let's watch some sports here, everybody. But yeah, it was entertaining to check out. In terms of handicapping, I don't know if there's like a whole lot of statistics out there and stuff like that. I'm sure you can find stuff.
Was there an angle to bet it? Like, could you?
Well, the angle was, in hindsight, you didn't know. So Paige Van Zandt, you know who she is. She's a pretty popular name. She was in the UFC for a while. She's done some bare knuckle boxing. She's like a good looking girl, so she stands out in that regard. So she was making her slap fighting debut on Friday night, and most people just assumed they're just bringing her in for name recognition. She has a big social media following, so it's going to get more eyes on this. So a lot of people are like, fade her. She was like plus 110 going up against a competitor who has done a couple rounds of slap fighting, I guess. But in hindsight, like Paige, absolutely, she destroyed her in this thing. And in hindsight, you should have looked at it and been like, well, they were probably setting Paige up for a win. Because sometimes they do this with matchmaking. They do it in boxing all the time. They do it in UFC. They're quite strategic with it. When you have a marketable individual, you want them to be able to win. So that's one of these things. I didn't bet a cent on any of the slap fights, but in hindsight, I take that approach with UFC betting quite a bit. I think they're trying to set this person up for a win. And that's what they were doing with Paige. And she won. And it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that's awesome. They do look like a good show, and I like that edge of instant gratification where it's just like, I'm just gonna slap you as hard as I can right in the face, and there's a good chance you're gonna fall down.
Yeah, you know what you're gonna get. Okay, so we'll save more slap fighting conversation for another day. Hey, it's gonna be a light couple of weeks here, so who knows? Maybe we'll get into some slap capping here for the next event.
Metler's out here dropping Georgia plus 33.5 or whatever.
Angola, man.
We are digging.
Angola, baby.
Oh,
people like to bet, and so do we, right? So we're going to give it to you. That's what we're here for. So 7 total bets for Major League Baseball, 5 for me, 2 for Jingles. We have 3 for this Reds-Yankees game going down at Yankee Stadium. I'm going to double dip on this one. Going to get us started by fading Carlos Rodon under 17.5 outs, going off at plus 105. So he's a pretty good pitcher, but he's in absolutely horrific form right now. 5 or more earned runs in 3 straight starts. He's allowing a lot of hard contact, 5 home runs allowed in those 3 games, 6 total walks as well. Not a good matchup for him because Cincinnati is smacking left-handed pitching. They have an 890 OPS over the last 2 weeks. Bigger sample size, 6 in OPS on the road over the last month. And the Reds are going to make him work. He's a guy who's very dependent on the strikeout. The Reds have the 5th lowest strikeout percentage versus lefties over the last month of the season. Like I said, I'm double dipping. I'm going to take the Reds to go over their team total. 3.5 here, minus 115. Bit of repetition here. Rodon getting blasted. He's allowed 20 earned runs in his last 3 starts. Great numbers for the Reds versus lefties and on the road, as I pointed out. And to bring it all together, the Yankees bullpen has been absolute bullshit here over the past couple of weeks. Bottom 7 in both ERA and FIP over the last 2 weeks. Now, Jingles, let's go to the other dugout here. Andrew Abbott, what do you like or not like for him?
Going against, the other lefty. Are you going against him or are you going with him when you're betting under 2.5 walks? We released it at plus 135. Still available plus 120 at places. It is moving, but it's still a number you're going to take. If you bet the walk markets, 2.5 is a huge number. And most of the time when you're betting it, it's like 2.5 minus 130, minus 120. No juice to be paid today on this prop. So why is it so high? It's overpricing on the matchup versus the Yankees, who do walk a lot. But Abbott did have 6 walks in his last start. That's too much. It's priced in way too much in the matchup and recent sample size. So this is a guy who's 11-5 to the under on this number. over his 16 starts on the year and closes with a total of 1.5 constantly plus money. So it's a full out of value. And I think whenever you can find the value where books are overpricing it, Big Brown says, hopping on, let's hop on. When you can overvalue the matchup, which the books do, and which we'll call them game log handicappers do, right? We're not out there betting. I refer to the same thing. Justin Jefferson over 99.9, 99.5 yards just because the defense he's facing is trash. No, that's always the first thing that's priced in. We know that the Yankees are going to walk, but 2.5 is a big number, especially for a guy with not a big leash. And I'll take some plus 120 any day on that.
Okay, back to me for 2, and then back to you for 1, then back to me for 1 more. One of my favorite bets this season, it's still hanging out there, Jordan Hicks, under 15.5 outs, minus 160, and the juice is worth the squeeze on this one. This has hit in 10 of his last 11 starts and in all 8 of his road starts here this season. Yeah, the Braves are a bit of a disappointment offensively, but they are much better at home. A 747 OPS at home compared to just 637 on the road. And not really a good matchup for him here. The Braves are a high walk team. This is a guy who has trouble finding the strike zone. And what's that going to equal? It's going to equal a high pitch count. He's walked 3 or more on 6 occasions this season. Braves are walking at a very high percentage versus right-handed pitching over the past couple of weeks. And this is a guy, they're quick to yank him. They don't let him go very deep into a pitch count at all. You got to keep in mind he is a former reliever. That's where the bulk of his work in his career has come from. And they're very content with getting 5 innings out of this guy. They've yanked him with under 80 pitches before when he's been pitching pretty good at the 5-inning mark. So I like this trend, this pattern to continue. I don't mind paying minus 160 on that one. Another total outs prop that I absolutely love, John Gray. We're going to go under 15.5 outs for him, minus 102. This man, quite simply, cannot be trusted. Games of 8 and 9 earned runs allowed in his last 3 starts, getting absolutely shit-canned. Texas doesn't want him out there very long at all. 75 pitches or less in 6 straight appearances for him. The bullpen's quite fresh for Texas here as well, so keep that in mind. And San Diego, 5th in OPS versus right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. They actually have their hitters have quite a bit of experience versus John Gray. 87 combined at-bats and OPS over 1,000 against him. So we'll be fading John Gray. Brian Bello? People said I mispronounced his name last week. I forget if I said Bello or Bello. It's Bello, isn't it?
I'm going Bello, and I'm going absolute slump buster today. This is a guy who's had his start pushed back 2 days in a row. He's working with control issues. He's got a ton of walks over his last bit, but his K stuff's been there. So we're going over 4.5 Ks. And how do you fix a situation with control? You face the worst walking team in all of baseball in the Marlins. He also gets the indoor setting. Marlins also strike out at the 4th highest rate over the last 30 days. No physical issues are holding him back. That is a big thing. And this is a guy who's around a K per inning pitcher. This could be cashed in the 4th inning. 4.5 is a low number. Andrew Kelly says Bay-O. It is Bay-O, Brian Bay-O. And don't ask me how to spell Brian because it's also B-R-A-Y-A-N. The editors are going to absolutely love that. But let's go Bay-O.
Bayo. Yeah, Bayo's been, I was checking him out earlier. He has been a disappointment here for
super disappointment. But they push him back. Like they said, we're going to push your start back a couple days. There's no physical things holding him back. And it's just been a control. He did an IL stint prior. He's trying to get it back. But if there's a team to get him back, it's the worst walking team in all of baseball. So if he can control the walks, that's it. Miami's listless offensively, and they strike out a ton.
Okay, let's bring it home here. First run line pick of the entire season for me. Starting to open up the board here with no NBA to handicap, so more time to handicap Major League Baseball. Going to go with the Twins, minus 1.5. That's actually plus 120. We have minus 120 there on the graphic, but plus money on that one, so keep this in mind. So look at the 2 offenses here lately. Extreme contrast between them right now. OPS at home over the last 30 days. Guess who's first in Major League Baseball? It is the Minnesota Twins. Guess who's last on the road? It is the Detroit Tigers. 2 right-handed starters, OPS versus righties over the last 30 days. 5th for the Twinkies. Last for the Tigers. This is a tough spot for Kaiser Montero, who's making a spot start for the Tigers, filling in for Jack Flaherty. They're going to skip his spot in the rotation. My fantasy team not very happy about that. But this Montero guy in AAA, he has a 5.03 ERA with a 170 WHIP in AAA. Now he's thrown 8.2 innings in the big leagues this season. He's allowed 9 earned runs. And to bring it all home, pretty big contrast between the bullpens here, too. Bullpen ERA over the last 2 weeks. Twins in pretty good form at 7th. The Tigers in the worst form in Major League Baseball, dead last in bullpen ERA over the last 2 weeks. I usually call them the Dinky Twinkies. Hopefully they're not too dinky tonight and can win by at least 2 runs. Okay, Jingles. Hot on the heels of the NHL draft. You guys did a great job covering it on the show last week. There's a couple NHL futures markets that are on the board here that you think are worth taking a look at. What do you want to start with here?
Yeah, the market's just open up. If producer Mick can bring up the Calder from, where are we on Calder? I believe we're at DraftKings for there. So Calder is the rookie of the year. Logan Stankoven, outside of having probably the best name in all of the rookie class there. Plus 600 is a great price. It is plus 450 at Bet365, so you're already getting a great number. Now, what qualifies you as a rookie in the NHL? 25 games is a cutoff. Old Stanky, he played 24 games in the regular season. He is head above heels, ahead of all of these guys in terms of experience. Also played a whopping 19 games in the playoffs. He had 8 points. So this guy has played a ton more than all of these guys. Tons of question marks with Mitchkov in Philadelphia. Celebrini, we don't know how he's going to fit in with San Jose in his first year. He's super young. There's a lot of other guys don't like Dustin Wolf, don't like goaltenders in this spot. They're just not going to get enough starts. But Logan Stankoven, he could get some PP1. Plus 600 is the best price that you're going to see on him all year. He has such an advantage because of the experience that he got last year. And if Jamie Benn isn't Jamie Benn this year, you could see this guy playing PP1 minutes. So playing with Wyatt Johnson, it's a good spot for him in this one. And then if we can go over to President's Trophy odds, that we're going to see at Bet365. If producer Mick can jump over to there as I'm directing him all across the book. But this is what you need if you're looking for the best price on the board. President's Trophy, if we can find it, is absolutely insane. You're giving me the Oilers at plus 1,000, the number 5 team. This is making next to 0 cents in this spot. This is plus 650 at Sports Interaction or MGM. Chris Knobloch, after he took over for Jay Woodcroft last year, went 46-18-5. That's a 703 win percentage, the best in hockey since he took over on November 12th. Then he went to a playoff run, had a 600 winning percentage there, losing in games. This team also got better with the additions of Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner. They addressed their issues having shallow depth in their top 6. They have growth coming with Dylan Holloway and defenseman Philip Broberg and Stuart Skinner on the back end as well. And the one thing that I like is that this is the easier division. So a lot of their games will be versus that division. Calgary, White Flagon, Vegas, selling pieces. Vancouver cannot be as good as they were last year. And the Kings, let's expect the Kings to be more like they were maybe from December to the end of the season as they were at the beginning of the year. There's an easy path for that. And plus 1,000 is a great price, and it won't be any longer than that. It's only going to get shorter going in.
There you go. Covering a little bit of everything except for NFL. We're going to be jumping head first into NFL futures content here on the show. Probably around the start of August. I have 2 weeks off coming up. A bunch of the fellas have some time off. But some NHL futures there. If you are so inclined to jump on it, maybe some early value from our guy Jingles. But we will leave it at, I predicted a 20-minute show today. Here we are at the 34-minute mark. There's always a lot to discuss. We're going to be breaking down friggin' Olympics and probably not.
What was his play again? Who is it? Who are we betting on? 33.
Angola plus 33 against Spain. Are you kidding me?
33. Wow.
Great value.
I don't know what on the other side of 33 points looks like in a basketball game. Like, oh, that's got to be a sweat.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, I'm on my way to lock that in right now. That game starts in about 55 minutes here, but we'll leave it at that for today's show. We thank Jingles for joining. We thank you, dear viewer, for checking us out. Hit up the comment section down there. Let us know what your best bets are for tonight, and let us know why you are making that bet. We're going to be right back with you guys on Friday to recap the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. We're going to spend about 15 or 20 minutes on that. No Joey Chestnut this year. It's going to be a little bit more competitive this time around. So we do look forward to that. And we look forward to Friday's show. Thank you for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets tonight. And we will catch you on Friday. Woo!